My dear people of Southern Cameroons, accept my revolutionary greetings. I come before all of us once more this day because I know that so many of us are confused, that so many of us are wondering exactly what is happening to our revolution that started off so well and was going on so well. A lot of us are asking ourselves a lot of questions, and we're beginning to wonder where exactly we have collectively or individually gone wrong. My dear people of Southern Cameroons, we are in a revolution, and this particular revolution is not just one to change the head of state. It's not just one to change those who are in power. It's a revolution to achieve freedom, total freedom, to achieve independence. So we should know that it is not a child's play. We should have known right from the point go that it was not going to be an easy ride, that a lot of people on whom we counted so much right from the point go may lag around along the way and drop out, and that some may outrightly betray us. I mean, betray us in the strongest terms of the word and also drop off. But one thing that has to remain constant in our minds is that everything may drop off, but not the revolution itself, because we have made several attempts to break free from the grip of La République du Cameroon and France. We have tried a good lot of times, and we have ended midway, not because we do not have the resources to go through, but because at that point, not a good lot of people were really bought to the cause of our freedom. But today, the tables have changed. So many of our people are even run the risk of saying, because in science, once it's above 60%, you can generalize, of saying almost every other Southern Cameroonian is actually anxious to see this freedom come to pass. This is the reason this struggle has gone so strong now. And we have covered so much grounds that we may not even realize it, because a good number of persons felt that within a matter of months, we were going to achieve that independence. That is why in the eyes of some, we have definitely not made progress. Let us know that while we are fighting to take what rightly belongs to us, our territory, our people, our freedom, and the possibility to be able to manage ourselves, the thief works even more than us. The thief doesn't sleep. He works round the clock. Some of us even go to sleep sometimes because we are convinced that it is our own. But the thief who knows that he doesn't own it doesn't sleep at all. For that reason, we have to double our vigilance. We have to work harder. We have to know that it's not at all going to be an easy ride. But trust me, this time around, it is only victory that will end this struggle. If we all tell ourselves this determination, we will begin to open our eyes wide to see exactly what we are against. This struggle, this fight is right now one of existence. Let me unveil to all of us the package that will make any person who is still doubting that this revolution does not concern him or her to know that all of us are in this. We will all survive and live free as a group, or we are all going to die one after the other, simply because we put in one positive word or the other about this revolution. Now, what has happened right up to this point is still according to Mr. Bia's script. And I brought this to our knowledge a good number of times, just that sometimes we easily forget things that we listen to. We have to be keen and see things when they unfold. We should remember when our attention was drawn to the fact that these things will unfold. There are some of our people who have deliberately decided to stay within that system because their objective is to stay within that system and help us with the necessary information for us to carry this revolution to fruition. Their contribution will become nonsense if we don't take their warnings, if we don't take the information that they give out to us and use to good effect. If we just listen and ignore, like every other piece of information, the things that are happening to us will continue happening to us until at the end of the day, we are going to lose focus. My dear brothers and sisters, let me take us to that script that is being executed right now. The battle before us, like I've mentioned already, is one of our very existence. The war that is unfolding had been planned several years before today. La République du Cameroon had known right from day one that because of the kind of treatment that they are going to give us, we are not going to be anxious to stay in this union all the way right to the end. And so when I had the opportunity to hear it, that it came out of the mouth of Mr. Bellinger Ebutu, who is Director of Cabinet at the Presidency of the Republic, that they are aware that these people, these Anglophones, will never stay in that union all the way. I knew it, that they will be planning, and they have always been vigilant with us. That is why if we listened to this police superintendent, this Betty guy who worked in Bamenda for some time between 2006 and 2011, and did reveal to us that we have permanently been under surveillance. That the Northwest and Southwest have permanently been under siege because we have permanently been watched, because these people have known throughout time that because of what they are doing to us, we're bound to rise up one day. So they have always monitored us with the ambition to thwart everything and nip it in the bud. But unfortunately for them, they didn't see this one coming. And that is why, after they tried to see if they could do some kind of stage-managed dialogue, it failed. They knew that the only thing left for them to do is to go on to the next plan they have always had in their closet, that of annihilation. That is why the bishops of the Bamenda Ecclesiastical Province, when they came out with the first letter in October 2016, I think that letter should have been actually somewhere in November, December 2016, in which they wrote elaborately to the presidency of the Republic, explaining the problem and even possibly proposing solutions. They followed up with other letters and have actually gone out physically to seek audience with Mr. Bia 4 times, but all 4 times they were turned down. Mr. Bia did not just turn them down and stay quiet. He spoke in his circles, and as usual, some of his close aides, who are very knowledgeable about what we are going to be facing, have drawn our attention to it. They have told us that we should know exactly what is being planned in the higher circles. This is what they say, that Mr. Paul Bia has said there is going to be no more dialogue. He will never receive the Catholic bishops of the Bamenda Ecclesiastical Province, even if they come knocking 100 times. He will never ever receive them. His plan is, he has given instructions. The killings will continue, unabated. Yes, the killings will continue. Massive and unabated killings are going to continue all over the southern Cameroon's territories. If you want to doubt me, go back to the communications we got from the Deputy Director of the Civil Cabinet, Joseph Anderson-Lay, that was published. It was published in Cameroon Tribune and published in other local newspapers in La République du Cameroon. He said dialogue had already taken place. And so anybody talking about dialogue again doesn't know what they are really talking about. And that is why when they heard us, heard our leadership, keep talking about the need for dialogue in the presence of third party, in the presence of this, it sounded very laughable to them. Again, if you followed Issa Chiruma Bakare talk on France 24 the other day, he reiterated this point, that they are not going to be dialoguing with people they have described as terrorists. He confirms exactly what they say, that there is going to be no dialogue. And Mr. Paul Bia had generally validated this no dialogue option in all his communications since the crisis started. We have seen that at the National Assembly, they vowed that the issue, no matter how much shouting people do, it will never be discussed at the National Assembly. It will never be discussed at the Senate, and it has never been discussed in those instances. The translation of all of this to us is to make us understand that whether we like it or not, we should get our loins to fight, and fight all the way. I mean, all the way. So Mr. Bia has not made any mystery about what he knows is awaiting us. He is convinced that we are supposed to have known by now that he has no interest in having us even stay alive or, partake in whatever, they are sharing in that country. That they've just been accommodating us. What they're interested in are our resources and our resources only. So, Mr. Biya has sanctioned the serial killings, and those serial killings are going to continue. And when, in his psychic, he believes that when several Ambazonians will have been killed and whole communities cleaned out, like we have seen in Dadi, we have seen in Kembong, we have seen in Kwakwa, and as I'm talking to you, even at this moment that I'm talking to you, Mbengwi is completely surrounded. Even as I'm talking to you, they are making already such moves in Bui division. They are planning all of these things in a lot of other localities. They are surrounding all these places. So they know in their minds that when they would have killed so many people out of fright and total fear, sheer fear, we are going to surrender. That is Mr. Biya's script. And he has stayed glued to his script. Those of us who have been thinking that something good can still come out of Yaoundé and continue to play against our people, let me unveil to you the full strategy now to achieve this objective that Mr. Biya has. The first is the use of the selfish, gullible, and self-proclaimed elite of Southern Cameroons to weaken and destroy us. You want to know it? They're already using vulnerable chiefs and funds who carry names of young people in the communities whom they say are radicalized and hand over to the forces so that they pick them up and, destroy them overnight. Some of them are completely disappeared. We will never see them. We will never know what happened to them. We will never see their corpses. Others are picked and detained under stupid and lousy pretexts. Their names are given by our funds and chiefs, those who have decided to sell their hearts and minds to the devil in exchange of 30 pieces of silver. And then turn around, look at the next approach. They are now using this self-proclaimed elite to penetrate the interim government and threaten the struggle at the helm. I pointed this out in my video of the 25th of December. I think that is one of the videos over which I was most insulted. I drew our attention to the fact that trouble was on the way. I said that the interim government had already been infiltrated right at the top, and that if we don't take time to weed out these traitors the fastest possible, more evil things are going to happen to us. Now, you will see what happens. Some of this elite are going on basis of tribal affinities and are positioning moles at every level of our revolution, at every level of the interim government. Take a look at our interim government right now. You'll find that there are fissures. Before we know it, there will be so much infighting and quarreling. And this will be a result still of this very selfish, evil, and gullible elite that are using people within to destroy us. My dear brothers and sisters, it wouldn't end there. This elite are moving. When I say elite, understand that means self-proclaimed elite. They are moving to the next level, to the next plan, which I also already pointed out, but it is already getting operational. We are soon going to find it difficult to distinguish which militia group on the ground, that is, which liberation movement, armed movement on the ground in Southern Cameroon is credible and which is not. The reason is simple. We all know what Mr. Biya did in the 1990s when we returned to multipartism. When they noticed that they couldn't beat the people, they sponsored the creation of too many political parties and caused these political parties to achieve one thing: fragment the base, break the level of support, divide the people under many units. And in the end, they were able to bring division, and people started supporting or militating in political parties depending on where the leader of that political party came from. And you see, the simple effect is that the numbers reduce in terms of support for the opposition, giving Mr. Biya's party the leeway to do whatever they wanted to do. The same thing happened to the press. When the credible press in Cameroon, following the enactment of the liberty laws, began saying the things as they were, Mr. Famendongo created so many satellite newspapers and positioned people to man them. The role of these newspapers were to water down the good job being done by the credible papers. At the end of the day, it became difficult for us to know which paper was speaking the truth, who to believe and who not to believe. This is the same melodrama that's already happening. This is the same evil that's already happening within our revolution. Today, Who are we going to trust? We heard the spokesman of the interim government give us a clear position on what is happening to our leaders. At the same time, we have now heard some other people within the same government say something completely contrary. And so this is exactly the kind of script that none of us would like to read, would like to watch. So going back to the forces, the ambition of some of this elite is to create forces giving the innocent young people anxious to defend homeland the impression that they too are tired with the system and want to sponsor resistance at the base. They will sponsor these young people, start up the militia movement, even help them identify the position of 1 or 2 or 3 La République du Cameroon soldiers and they sacrifice them, take responsibility, and we will tag these groups as credible. And what is going to happen? You will soon discover that almost every country will have its militia group, sometimes 2 or 3 of them. And our contributions are going soon to follow our various countries. Let me support the militia group in my country, support the one in my country, support the one in my country. It will break the base of our contributions. It will drain us resources and we will not have the real effect. Because a good lot of money that would have been concentrated in a few hands of those militia groups that are already doing it so well will be broken across the board and it will weaken them. That will be the first stage. The second stage, at some point, this same group will start calling for a unity of the various liberation movements so that they should hold meetings and come together and plan together and see how, if they become together like one force, they will overcome La République du Cameroon. That is false unity. Nobody should fall for that kind of unity, because these groups will be coming out to see how they will merge and then be able to infiltrate the credible groups, pick up information as to their position, and set out to destroy them. Even as I'm talking to you, there is one elite from Santa Mbei called Fru Jonathan Mujingni. At this moment I'm talking to you, he's already making calls overtures to some Odeche boys, calling them to come meet him because he wants to work with them. He wants to pump in money into the revolution behind so nobody should know. He wants to give them the money secretly. Any Odeche boy who finds himself meeting Mr. Fru Jonathan should know, as soon as you get to him, you will be arrested. And they will now want to molest you to obtain 3 things. 1, that you should show a good lot of the places where these people hide without their knowledge, so that they should capture them. Number 1. Number 2, that they should show where they go for fortification, so that they should find ways of destroying the base of where they do fortification. And number 3, they will use them again to mount now of fake groups, having indoctrinated them to see how to break us. Fellow Southern Cameroonians, we must be wise. This is the time for us to open our eyes very wide and be able to see that we don't let anyone create confusion on us. These people are beginning to convince themselves that because the noise they expected to get around the world, with us shouting out on rooftops, clamoring for the release of our interim president and the members of his cabinet is not coming on, they are beginning to convince themselves that they are succeeding, that they have captured the strong man, and now the flock, the sheep, is getting scattered gradually. They are going to continue upping their game. We must be vigilant. We must be steadfast. We must know that this is a war we must not lose. And now let me turn my attention to those of you, our brothers and sisters, who are in the military of La République du Cameroon. Your villages will be wiped out. Those of you who come from Kwakwa, what do you have left over from there? That grandmother who was burnt in the house, isn't she one of your grandmothers? Bengui is being surrounded right now. All of you soldiers who are functioning in La République, who are from Bengui subdivision, what is going to happen to your family members? What is going to happen to your property? Yet you are there claiming that you are defending homeland. It is good you open your eyes, because the earlier you open your eyes and realize that you yourself are already being killed and destroyed, the better. Let me talk to Mr. Wilson Jumenjikang, who is Senior Superintendent of Police and who is the Central Commissioner in Kumba. You are moving up and down, celebrating, jubilating, and saying, yes, Kwakwa had to be burned because they were harboring terrorists. Mr. Njumenjikang, the day is coming when it is your own village in Kupengwanengupa that will be razed to dust. Your family people will also be burnt in their houses. I'm assuring you. And I wonder what you will say that day. Whether you will still say that it is terrorists who were doing it. All of us will have our turn. with the Berbers. This is the time for us Southern Cameroonians to know that if we do not begin to face the traitors among us and take them out, we are not going to win this war. We are all going to die one after the other. A good lot of us are supporting this struggle or supporting people in this struggle with our hearts instead of supporting with our heads. In a revolution, you don't support with your heart, you support with your head. Because when you support with your heart, you are prone not to open your eyes, not to let the scales fall off your eyes for you to see deceit when it is before you, for you to see danger when it is about to consume you, for you to see traitors even when they are eating and dining with you. Let me say this. A lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is still putting on its shoes. I'm copying this from Charles Spurgeon. Is to tell us that let us know that a good lot of the lies being perpetrated around, being carried left and right in this revolution, they find some people demonizing others and all whatnot. These lies will soon come to a halt. When the scales will fall off our eyes, a good lot of us are going to commit suicide out of regrets for the utterances we made, for the things we did, and for the contribution we have brought in not to advance the revolution, but to kill it because we decided to listen to our hearts and not listen to our heads, and not let our heads guide us. Those who are saying that let us not get into finding out who the traitors are, who betrayed the interim president and the members of his cabinet. Let us wait until we see them first before we start knowing what is happening. These people seemingly don't exactly know what investigation is all about. If we don't trace these people quickly, more damage will be caused to the revolution before we ever lay hands on them. More damage will be caused to this struggle before we ever find it difficult to rescue it. If we don't go out there to get them, to get these people and hold their advance, more trouble is on the way. A good lot of people are going to fall. I know some people say Mba Akuro has hatred for the interim government. He has this and that for that. I hate nobody. I like the truth. I like us to see things the way they are. I like us to establish them the way they are. I don't bother about those insults. But what I recall and what stays clear to my mind is that someday we will realize that we had the opportunity to do things right and we refused to do them right because we were listening to our hearts, because we're saying he or she is my tribesman. Yes, today if you look at it, a good lot of us are even already divided along tribal lines, because this man is my tribesperson, I will support him. Because this one is my friend's friend, I will support him. Let us open our eyes. In a revolution, every other person standing before you can be a potential danger. Because, let me put it to us, man is by nature greedy. Thomas Hobbes said that. By nature, man is greedy. And so, in this revolution, where La République du Cameroon and its ally, France, are ready to do anything, a lot of money, a lot of self-interests are being promoted, and a lot of money is circulating. Too many terrible things will happen. There are people you will never believe in your lives. You will never imagine that they could fall. But be careful. You may be shocked. You may be embarrassed that the enemy was just sleeping with you on the same bed and you have been putting all your trust in this person. Let us open our eyes and all be wise. Otherwise, a good lot of us are going to fall one after the other. When La République du Cameroon comes out with a list and says, from Mba Akuro and about 5 other persons, all they want is not capture, it's not imprisonment. They want simply our heads. It's simply because of the remorse that they know that a lot of the things that they are planning on a daily basis and bringing to our attention. But they are doing everything to water it down so that we don't pay attention. Even when these things start unfolding before us, a good lot of us still say, nay, I will continue to do my job. I will continue to bring to us this information as it comes. I will continue to educate us on all of these things that come to me to help us push ahead this struggle. The few that heed and open their eyes and look carefully will see exactly that we need to rescue this revolution from collapse. Yes, we have one obligation and one obligation only. That obligation is to succeed. I insist, let us be careful with the level of our trust. Because like Albert Einstein says it, whoever is careless with the truth in small matters cannot be trusted with important matters. Let us be wise. Let us open our eyes. Let us be critical towards each other and insist towards each other, and make sure that we constantly clear ourselves of security before we go pouring out strategies, pouring out information, or pouring out all we know about this revolution. Victory is our portion in this revolution. And now I want to say it. Wherever you are, whatever you are thinking, please note, it is not in our interest to get tired. It is not in our interest to let the steam go down. It is in our interest to go all the way, because 2018 is a golden opportunity for us to secure that victory we so need. All we need to do is sponsor our ground forces to make sure that no elections, I insist, no elections take place on the territory of Southern Cameroons, and even in Cameroon as a whole. Yes, we have the potential to do that. We have the possibility to do that. Let us do it. And we will all realize for ourselves that that seemingly very powerful Republic du Cameroon will not be able to hold it to the end of the year. All we need to do is continue to hold very strong, very firm and tight. There are already signs of fissures on the other side. Open your eyes widely, you will see those signs. And take note, we have to capitalize. If we go weak this year, we will not be able to recover next year. We must continue to pressure and pressure and pressure and pressure. May the Holy Spirit of God that possessed the apostles and showed them direction when our Lord Jesus Christ ascended into heaven, may it possess Southern Cameroonians, each and every one of us, wherever we are. Open our eyes that the scales will fall and we begin to see the truth. Open our minds that we reason with our heads, and that we all become more careful, more tactful, and more dedicated to this struggle. And those of you still standing on the fence, come on board, because you may soon be brought down, not because you are contributing to this struggle, but because you are standing on the wrong place thinking that you were running. God bless all of us.